body is beautiful. My body is bold. My body is mine. My body is fly. My body is beautiful. My body is bold. My body is mine. My body is fly. My body is beautiful. My body is bold. My body is mine. My body is fly. My body is beautiful.
Okay,
My body is bold. My body is mine.
Good morning, Heritage. My name is Lacey Adams. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at Heritage, and I am your worship associate for today. So a few announcements I want to draw your attention to. But before announcements, sorry. Let's actually just say, good morning and welcome. We're so glad that you are here, whether or not you are here in the church or on Zoom or watching this service later on at some point in time, or welcome if you are watching it for a second time later on. No matter how long you've been here, if you're a visitor or if you've been here since before we were in this building, we are so appreciative for your presence, for the gifts, for the bodies you bring into this space. And we just want to thank you for being here and hope that you have a wonderful time. A few pieces of bookkeeping or orders of just some logistics. If you are new to Heritage or have general questions, want to know more about the church, would like to receive a tour, our board greeter for today is Luke.
Actually,
It's Julie Kane. Julie, where are you? All right. Julie is still greeting outside, doing her greeting duties. So she will be here, and if you have a need to speak to our greeter from the board, she will be available to you today. And then a few just announcements to highlight. There is an announcement towards the back of your order of service. There are many things going on in the life of our church, so please make sure to take a look at these kinds of announcements. They include announcements that are coming soon, but also things that we can look forward to. The two things I want to highlight is there are plans underway to relaunch a Heritage Men's Group. But before that happens, the folks that are organizing that and ruminating and percolating on that would actually like your input. So later today, there will be a brief survey going out to most probably all of you, but is directed towards the men of our church. And we would like to just gauge your interest in a few things. So if you can be on the lookout for that, and then also do the survey, that would give us valuable information about your needs and wants going forward. So please be on the lookout for that. The second is also just a save the date for September 24th. It is the Breadcrumbs Tales event at the Anderson Center. Dave is actually spearheading that event. It's a beautiful event of storytelling and light and love and exploration. So if you want more information about that event, it's here in the order of service, and there's some information on the website about that as well. So please be on the lookout for that. With that in mind, let us turn towards our call to worship. So if you have, it is up on the screen, but if you have a silver hymnal like this, when we use the word hymnal, that makes us think that what's in here? Hymns, okay, which there are. There are a great many hymns in this hymnal. But there are other things too, miraculous other things to be found in the hymnal. And so our call to worship is actually going to come from the hymnal, not as a hymn, but as a responsive reading. So it's 442, called We Bid You Welcome. If you are in the hymnal, the part italicized is your role, and the part not italicized is mine. And it will be done responsively, meaning I will say the line, you will respond with what is italicized. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirits seeking rest. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart. We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith. We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as a homecoming. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey. Now, before we move to our bell and chalice lighting, I actually want to bid welcome to Reverend Sharon Dittmar. We are really blessed today to have a worship leader who brings us a new perspective and a new voice into the midst of our community. You might know, if you are involved in any sort of mid-American activities, that Sharon serves as part of our congregational life team in our region, and before that serves for 17 years? 18 years as the minister of First Unitarian. So she brings a wealth of experience, professional experience, is also married, is the mother of 3 adult children and 2 grandchildren. And when I was asking Sharon about, like, what is the most important way to sort of introduce her, she said that it is important to know that she feels she is not the expert in any one thing, but is a seeker of wonder for all of her life. So she will bring that sense of seeking and wonder into our community today. So with that, I am going to just sort of, we're going to hear the bell, and I'm going to light the chalice, and I'm going to shuffle back over here for us to do the covenant, okay? Now, let us rise to do the covenant together. We will be doing it responsively. Again, a little different than our call to worship, though. I will say a line, and you will repeat that line. By this covenant, we affirm that love is the spirit of this church.
Love is the spirit of this church.
The quest for truth is its sacrament.
The quest for truth is its sacrament.
And service is its prayer.
Service is its prayer.
To dwell together in peace.
To dwell together in peace.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine.
To the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine.
Thus do we covenant with each other. And with God. Amen. Let us remain standing for our opening hymn, number 108, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place.
So one of the things we'll be talking about in church today are bodies, our bodies, all bodies, the many ways in which we experience our bodies. So it seemed like taking a moment to really focus on bodies was maybe an excellent way to start our service in our story for all ages. I'm going to invite you into this storytelling. The book we're about to read is called Bodies Are Cool. That is a refrain throughout the story. At the end of each page ends with the words, bodies are cool. And so I'm going to invite you to say at the end of each of the pages the words, bodies are cool. Okay. When we talk about bodies, we would like to use our bodies, and worship is not always the easiest space or place to use our bodies, but our voice is a part of our body. So that's the part we're going to use at the moment. All right. And as I read the words, I would like for you to use the eyes part of your body to really look at the images, to see the fullness of bodies, to see the ways in which bodies are configured and shaped and colored and experienced, sort of really take in all of these beautiful, beautiful bodies. Big bodies, small bodies. Dancing, playing, happy bodies. Look at all these different bodies.
Bodies are cool.
Lanky bodies, squat bodies, tall, short, wide, or narrow bodies, somewhere in the middle bodies.
Bodies are cool.
Round bodies, muscled bodies, curvy curves and straight bodies, jiggly wiggly fat bodies.
Bodies are cool.
Dark skin, olive skin, every shade of brown skin, pinky pale or peach skin.
Bodies are cool.
Poofy hair, wavy hair, stringy curls or flat hair, lots of hair or no hair.
Bodies are cool.
Leg hair, armpit hair, fuzzy lip and chin hair, brows meet in the middle hair.
Bodies are cool.
Hazel eyes, brown eyes, monolids and round eyes, blind and wearing glasses eyes.
Bodies are cool.
Crooked faces, bumped nose faces, flat nose, full lips, gap tooth faces, stick out ears, and thin lip faces.
Bodies are cool.
Freckled bodies, dotted bodies, rosy patched or speckled bodies, dark skin swirled with light skin bodies.
Bodies are cool.
Hairy fingers, wrinkled fingers, dimpled elbows, chubby fingers, wobbly arms and stubby fingers.
Bodies are cool.
Soft tummies, saggy tummies, flat or sticky out tummies, innies, outies, pregnant tummies.
Bodies are cool.
Thick legs, scrawny legs, knobby knees and long legs, roll up to the table legs.
Bodies are cool.
Faint scars, bold scars, stripes from getting better scars, marks that tell a story scars.
Bodies are cool.
This body, that body, his and her and their body, however you define your body.
Bodies are cool.
Growing bodies, aging bodies, features rearranging bodies, magic ever-changing bodies.
Bodies are cool.
My body, your body, every different kind of body, all of them are good bodies.
Bodies are cool.
The end.
I gotta be honest, this is my first time back in person in a congregation in 3 years. And I'm like, where do I put my stuff? Where does my water go? Where's the camera? I'm like full of questions. I am a child of wonder today. And I bid you welcome, all of you, particularly those of you online, whether you're watching now or streaming later. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And welcome to this community of heritage, really a beloved community doing work in this community for over 150 years. And I want to recognize your member, Ray J. Araujo, who serves on the Mid-America board for the region, which is a great volunteer service, and we're so grateful for the gifts that she brings. Our reading, Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. Calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. You are a generous people, and learning about generosity and how we share our faith in many ways is part of what we do here in congregational life. I'm sure there's a link to donate online, if not on the webpage of this congregation, and we also have an opportunity to do that here. It's a way to live our values, deepen our connections, live in communities. It's truly our gifts of how we live and living that help the whole community thrive. And today, I was actually asked, is there any organization I would like to have receive funds? And I said, why, yes, the Ohio Justice and Policy Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. This year, I've served on the board for 5 years, and this year I am their president. I commend all of you who have ever served as board presidents, because now I am having my tour of duty. I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for the experience and for what OJPC does that, frankly, no other organization does in the United States. You might not realize how unique they are. They work on human rights in prison. There are many people who don't receive the medical care they need in prison, who are beaten and abused in prison, who cannot pray and recognize their faith in prison. They recognize those prisoners and help them. They have a program called the Second Chance Clinic, which helps people if they need record sealing or expungement. So many people are discriminated against after they have served time, after they have reformed, and have come back into our society and want to find a job and live someplace and support our family. They also work on policies to reduce really sort of over-punishment. And they've also started something really unique called Beyond Guilt. There's a program down at the Freedom Center about it right now, around people who are over-sentenced, 25 years in prison for a crime you committed when you were 15. People can reform. And I think the thing that people don't understand is that more than 95% of people who go into prison or jail are coming back out. What will there be for them when they're here? How will we integrate them? They are part of our human family. So I hope that you will consider giving as generously as possible to the Ohio Justice and Policy Center. All of these people they represent are represented for free. $0 for all these people who can't afford things because they are incarcerated or have been incarcerated. So thank you for your gifts to the Ohio Justice and Policy Center. And I believe there's baskets I hand out. Like, look, oh, great. For the in-person element, here are the baskets. Thank you for your gifts. Generously have they been given, and gratefully are they received.
I don't know about you, but sometimes I am particularly aware of my body in all the ways I'd prefer it not to happen. You know, when we, in worship and in our lives, I think many adults, we spend a lot of time in this part of our body, this sort of square footage right up here. I actually really love this part of my body, my brain, my ideas. It's a place that I love to dwell. But it dawns on me that there's some more of me that might not get all the attention it deserves when I stay right in here. So today, for our centering and grounding, we're actually going to try to liberate ourselves just from this square and find ourselves in the vast real estate of our bodies. This is sort of a pick your own adventure. I'm going to encourage you and invite you into your body, into a time to be grounded and centered in your body. The music that we heard at the beginning, as our gathering music, will play for a few minutes. It's a mantra of sorts, so one kind of adventure you might choose is to find the rhythm of the song and repeat it out loud or in your mind as you find a way into your body. If you want to stand or move, if walking is the way that you feel your whole body, we have some space to walk around in the sanctuary. If stretching is the way to do it, find your way into an aisle. We only have a few minutes, but a few minutes is enough to get in touch with your body. One way, too, another adventure you might pick is to move from here into this space, the breathing space. It's a little more real estate, and as you breathe and feel your body breathing, you might find your way into the rest of your body. So, with that in mind, with all the ways that you might find yourself in your body, I invite you to find the way that fits you, that finds you grounded and centered. And then for the next just few minutes, we're going to play the song and move into our bodies. And when the song ends, we will find our way back together into our community for candles.
My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly, my body is beautiful, my body is bold, my body is mine. My body is fly.
It is a beloved tradition to lift up the lives and joys and sorrows of our community together in Candles of Community. So we're going to start with inviting all of you to come forward and share your candles at this microphone here. It's set up, I think, so we won't necessarily have to pick it up or hand it back and forth, but you can line up here on this side or on the other side. Come forward, share your name. Make sure you share your name first. Share your candle, your concern, your joy, the things you want to lift up into our community. Then there are a few that we received, and I will share those. And then we will open up to see if there are any candles from the Zoom part of our community. So with that in mind, come and share your life, your concerns, your joys in our community. And we will light one more candle for the joys and sorrows that might be too tender for us to lift up out loud. Know that we stand with you in that experience as we light this candle.
I have 1 foot larger than the other. Most of us do. Most of us actually have 1 leg longer than the other as well. You really aren't imagining it. You go to the shoe store, your left shoe fits, but the right one feels small. You wonder if the small one will stretch. You wonder what is wrong with the shoes. It's not the shoes, it's the feet. Our feet. They're not the same size. Bodies are cool, and they're very much not symmetrical. Human minds are not the same. We are all differently in process, being conditioned in our different conditions. We are wholly human in a dazzling continuum of being and mortality. Our bodies are always full of difference, and then they continue to grow and change with age and time and injury and experience in life. If we live long enough, there will be so many adaptations, medications and injuries, braces and surgeries, breaks, and all sorts of therapy, as well as wear and tear. Our bodies are extraordinary in both their divergence and their adaptation. There is a myth out there that there is one standard of health, beauty, and normalcy for all time. And this static idea of a bizarre and never realized perfection is false. I find the ideas of normal bodies particularly frustrating. I had a college friend who was born with spina bifida, a medical condition, so that her spinal cord developed open to the air instead of closed inside of the skin. I'm sure her medical diagnosis at the time was full of words such as did not develop properly or normally, but those words proper and normal, as well as being harmful, are factually untrue. Bodies develop in a myriad of ways, and there is no proper. And as for normal, if spina bifida happens, and it does, then it is normal. Spina bifida is a disability, or rather, the condition can cause disabilities. And when I read about the disability community, I have learned how much they value the acknowledgement that there is a disability, to acknowledge that there is difference. But the difference isn't a less than. It is just different from. And it is normal. Due to spina bifida, my friend chose to use a wheelchair, which happens. The problem for her is with society. and the medical profession when they choose to see her conditions and adaptations as abnormal. And so I've begun to wonder, what if we lived in a society where we celebrated and designed for all variations, all normal diversities and varieties? The human condition includes a vast continuum of everything. It is only limited by our imagination and narration, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, and our capacity to listen to other people who are often more than willing to share who they are, how they are. There's a lot of different sized feet and legs and arms out there, unavailable organs, missing hair, extra hair, large bodies, small bodies, uniquely shaped bodies, uniquely functioning brains. Brains are parts of bodies too. It's not a matter of perfection or failure, because failure and perfection are false and limited notions. We are so much broader and diverse than we know. As the consultant, writer, educator, storyteller, and former director of religious education, C.B. Beale, likes to say, everybody is already in the room. Beale likes to remind us we are only limited by our notions of what is normative and our deceptions about our variety. Beale's comments remind me of the movie Sound of Metal, which some of you might have seen in the past year or so, about a heavy metal drummer played by the actor Riz Ahmed who goes deaf. I guess another word I should say is every individual and community likes to name their condition differently. From my reading, it seems that most people like to say deaf. But you would have to speak to anyone who is different to find out. How do they want to be named? Do they want their condition known? Is it public? There is no one word or phrase that describes everyone who belongs in any one identity. The character in this movie, Reuben, struggles against his growing deafness with all his might. He fights himself, and in the process, he makes himself sick and miserable. He fights his body. And during the movie, we journey with Reuben as his body changes, and he learns new ways of communicating and living in silence, finally celebrating the peace of silence that his body brings, which is the peace he discovers by embracing his body as it is, instead of forcing it into the shape of a body that was more familiar to him and that society recognized and embraced more easily. Imagine the freedom if there isn't a normal, perfect, or proper body. Imagine if just every body is cool. What if there are bodies in extraordinary variation and constant adaptation, and our work in society is to find ways to embrace, assist, learn from, listen to, and include them all? That's like our ministry as a human. Some of you might have heard of the concept of universal design. That's designing products, buildings, and experiences so they are accessible to everyone. In fact, your order of service is a great innovation here. Do you remember it used to be small before the pandemic, one page? If you couldn't read well, like me, you'd be like, what does it say? And now it has like color, and now kids or someone maybe who's bored with the talk could just doodle or read something. This is a universal design innovation. Good work. Universal design relies on the theory that everybody is already in the room or on the street or in our home. So how do we design for everyone in all places? You know, how can we create curb cuts on streets to make it easier? Listen to this, for strollers, walkers, wheelchairs, maybe people with balance questions. How about live transcription in a Zoom room so that text can appear on the screen as a person speaks? That's such a great assistance. In many ways, we are in the infancy of universal design, still learning how to use it. I certainly know that I am in the infancy of understanding how to use this. It's taken me years to remember how to enable live transcription when I host a Zoom room. It's like I keep forgetting, and my forgetting is exclusive. How can I remember better is my question for me. It's new for me to ask questions and be curious, though, about universal design and apologize, frankly, when I don't get it right. Questions like, how can I design a class to include the most people? What a great question. It's actually a question I didn't used to ask myself. I'm like, I'm here, I will now teach you. Or what about this experience excludes somebody and what could be done to change this? These questions are more like conversations with continual learning. And like I said, I'm new in this work. And of course I'm not perfect because I'm human, right? I'm trying to learn because I care about all my neighbors, siblings, and I will be learning about and trying to practice universal design until the day I die. So yes, I have skills and experiences, but like I said to Lacey this morning, I've stopped thinking of myself as an expert. That's like fantastically boring. I've started to think of myself as a child of wonder. Just a child of wonder. There's so much I don't know. It's a journey, not a destination. And I'm grateful to be on this journey because it connects me to more and more people. I recently spoke to a disability activist who wistfully wondered when people would just accept their human bodies as they are, just be like, bodies are cool. So this got me wondering how much I accept and celebrate my body just as it is. Perhaps you've asked yourself the same question. Truth be told, I am doing perhaps a moderate job at this, which is of course very human of me. I'm still wrestling with my gray hair and arthritic knee. I can't run anymore. I have an arthritic knee. Just as Reuben wrestled in Sound of Metal, though, since these changes do not involve my livelihood, and I have actually more resources than the character Reuben, I'm having, frankly, an easier time, though inside of me it doesn't feel easy. I do see myself struggling to celebrate the changes and where I find myself now. Sometimes I think of myself as old, and not in a celebratory way, which of course I could choose to do, you know? It is almost like in thinking about old as negative, I'm creating and participating in a limited narrative and falling into a societal and American habit of conceiving problems about something incredibly natural. Instead of complaining about my wrinkles or knee or trying to hide them, what if I adapted and celebrated my journey of life? You know, I am who I am. I'm 56 years old. Steps can be harder for me now. That means I can go slower and observe more. Sometimes I have more opportunities to ask for help, a lot more opportunities, and inquire about the location of an elevator. And that knee after surgery actually could continue to change and heal for years, or not. Perhaps I could just be curious and experiment while embracing and loving what is, instead of pretending I'm something I'm not. As a middle-aged white woman with privilege, I risk invisibility in a youth-focused society. But let's be honest, the youth don't even want the attention they get. I really don't believe they do. I know when I was a youth, I did not. And for other people with a variety of abilities and identities, say a large, black, elderly woman in a wheelchair, the gauntlet of perception includes not just invisibility, but ignorance, multiple microaggressions, and discrimination. So what if we could just break away from right body, wrong body, perfect anything, white supremacy culture, and just be, and be curious about our very real differences. Be in love and appreciation and blessed adaptation in all our disabilities, ages, identities, stages, and remarkable changes. The poet Mary Oliver writes, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine." I wish so much in this world that we could appreciate one another just beyond our limited categories we create of perceived identity, form, diagnosis, which could never fully describe the complexity and moving beauty of a human story and life. I mean, we really are all stardust, but it's all different stardust. No one here is just the sum of their disabilities, identities, or forms. We are that and so much more. The clinical psychologist Annie Rogers wrote a true story entitled A Shining Affliction, A Story of Harm and Healing in Psychotherapy. Has anyone ever read that one? Oh, it made me weep. Annie begins her story with a description of her doctoral clinical internship at a site for emotionally disturbed children. She works with several children, but is immediately drawn to 5-year-old Ben. As she describes play therapy sessions with Ben, we discover, the reader, that Ben was a severely abused child left alone in a windowless room somewhere in the United States for the first 18 months of his life. He now lives with a loving adoptive family, but he bears the scars, his adaptations to neglect from his early years. Annie is driven to uncover what is inside this bright, creative, hurt boy, and to find a way to help him bridge into a good and loving world and a new loving family that waits for him. And for the first time in his young life, Ben finally connects to a human, Annie. I think because she does not see him only as a diagnosis, an age, a condition, or a disability, but as a whole and full person, unique in all his diversity. As the reader, we think the story is just going to be about Ben until Annie has a severe breakdown and is hospitalized. I need to remind you this is a true story. Dr. Annie Rogers is a real person who teaches at Harvard, and she wrote a story about herself having a psychotic break. Her fall is intense, as are the repressed memories she recovers that have rendered her unable to speak for a time. They are, of course, her adaptations to her repressed trauma. At one point, as Annie begins to slowly move forward with a good therapist, she asks the therapist, "Do you think I will ever be cured?" And after laughing quite some time, the therapist replies, "Annie, only ham gets cured." There's no cure. There's no cure for being who we are, who you are. There's only living and loving and getting help with people who support us, accepting, adapting, growing, changing, celebrating the human condition where each of us individually finds ourselves. And meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you have a place in the family of things, just as you are, varied, different, unique, with a story all your own. Celebrate yourself and your loved ones in their infinite mystery. Be curious about every person you encounter. No two is the same, has the same story, or will ever share their full story with you. So be curious and a child of wonder. May it always be so. Please join me now, as you are comfortable, able, interested, care to, or not, all variations welcome, in singing All Creatures of the Sky and Rise, Don't Rise, Lay Down, Be Who You Are. please be seated, and all honor to you if you did not rise. Let's make space for one another and be curious about one another. I had a saying on my board for years, imprinted in my brain until I can no longer remember, which someday will happen, and that is, blessed are the flexible, for they won't be bent out of shape. We live in a changed and changing world, and there are risks and human lives at stake, and in the mystery and swirl and turning wheel and wonder. How can we authentically be ourselves? How can we deeply care and listen for and learn about one another? So go out into the world in peace and have courage, friends. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, and honor all persons.
As let us all rise and make our way into a circle. For those of you who are on Zoom during this benediction, I encourage you to sort of make eye contact with one another. I know that it's not the same as being physically in our space together, but it is a way of connecting authentically with one another. Right. I am going to here. I'm going to come here. That's so everyone here. May the spirit of life, which each of us possesses, flow from one to the other. May it stay with us. And bring us peace and harmony. Until we meet again. Thank you.